Connections. Welcome back. My name is Anna Kristal. I am your ketamine coach, and goodness gracious, this is take number 2 of this episode. I'm just going to out it right now. I recorded this entire episode only to find out that there was no sound. And as bad as that is, gosh, guys, the same freaking thing happened to me last week. If you catch me looking down, again, these episodes are being uploaded to YouTube, so come find us on YouTube if you haven't already. We are Ketamine Connections on YouTube. And if in this video you see my eyes darting down more than usual, it is because I realized that there's a little voice thing there. And when that voice thing is moving, I know that sound is being recorded. And when I don't know what's happening when when no sound is being recorded, because twice now I did not know that there was no sound until after I was done recording. And man, that sucks. Last week, it was only a 10-minute recording. It was one of the intros to the episode. This week, it was 36 minutes of this episode that I am going to recreate for you right here, right now. I do not work with a script. I do have some notes that I work off of. So, gosh, all of that is lost in the ether. If you're a really good lip reader and you want me to post that episode somewhere, I don't know. Let me know, and maybe we'll get it out there. But honestly, we're just going to really roll with it. We're going to forgive all past experiences, and we're going to get into episode 48, which is going to be so great, the hours before ketamine. If you're listening to this show, I already know something about you. I know that you care about doing this work well. You're not just here for an experience, you are here for real, lasting change. So let me ask you, how are you ever going to get the transformation you want from ketamine if you aren't clear about what to expect? The only way to make sure that ketamine actually works for you is to get clear on how the mind works and how ketamine interacts with your brain, the rules of psychedelic use so you don't make the same mistake I did, and how to be prepared for anything. And yes, I mean anything. And those questions only get answered when you follow a solid preparation protocol. Unfortunately, most clinics don't offer this up. Maybe they refer you to a therapist, but most therapists don't understand subconscious work or psychedelic work. And with anxiety, ketamine can only do so much. However, I also have good news. That is exactly why I created the ketamine preparation protocol. It is a simple 3-step process to help you feel safe, supported, ready, and yes, able to trust the process so that your journey is powerful and life-changing, not left up to chance. Go ahead and visit the link in the show notes and get yourself prepared, whether you've already started ketamine or are going to soon. All right, back to the show. Okay, so the hours before ketamine, if you've been listening to this show for a little or a long time, if you know nothing else about me, then you probably know that I am such an advocate of proper preparation. I truly believe that following a proper preparation protocol is the way that you take ketamine from just another thing that you tried to ketamine changes your life. From, oh, that was a fun light show behind my eyes, or not, because ketamine is not visual for everyone, to, whoa, ketamine really helped me draw a line in the sand from the person I was to the person that I'm becoming. And in fact, I just got back from the MAPS Psychedelic Conference 2025 in Denver, Colorado, and the conversation really centered around 2 things. One is the legality of these substances. So how do we get, those substances that are currently illegal, psilocybin, MDMA, how do we get that into the hands, into the mouths, into the bellies, into the nervous systems of the people that need it the most? And also, how do we properly support people? Because if you are just given a psychedelic without proper preparation, without proper integration, you're really missing the totality of the experience. The conversation around proper preparation and integration has been evolving for many years. When I started doing this work in 2021, almost nobody was talking about preparation and integration. And now people are at least acknowledging that it's important, even if not everyone is offering it up, which is why this platform has gotten as big as it has, which is why, the ketamine preparation protocol exists to support you in preparing properly for your ketamine journey, and why so many of you are finding so much value in this. Again, these free episodes are for you to take in, for you to share with your friends and family. Heck, maybe you even share them with the clinics or the facilities where you're doing ketamine, because a lot of this information they might not even know. And if you want the full comprehensive system that gets into the science, that gets into the language of the subconscious mind, and that really supports you in setting the best possible intention for your ketamine journey, you want to get into the ketamine preparation protocol. We have monthly calls. Our next call is happening in a few weeks. So get in there, hang out with me live. I already know if you're listening to the show that you're into, getting to know your subconscious mind. I already know that you love, learning how to do ketamine right. And I know that you and I are going to geek out on the same things. So hop in to the ketamine preparation protocol to get even more support, even more guidance than are offered here in these episodes, as much as I offer up here. Okay, so let's get into it. Why preparation, right? Why do I believe preparation is the most important step? Well, a few reasons. One, we talk about this a lot in our culture, like first impressions really matter. So, first impressions with the medicine, right? And when you are preparing yourself properly for a positive, for an impactful first impression with the medicine, then you're going to get off on the right foot. And that does happen a lot. You might already be into your ketamine journey, right? I often talk about how even setting the proper intention can work retroactively to give you more out of the sessions than you've already had. I know that doesn't make sense because, we live in this linear concept of time, space, reality where you go from 1 to 2 to 3. But actually, when you enter, psychedelic model of healing, of interacting with time and space, then you are entering a whole new understanding. And that understanding bends time and space. So you might have already started your ketamine journey. You might have already finished your ketamine journey. I mean, I've worked with people that have been in ketamine for like 3 months, 10 months, 3 sessions. I've worked with people that have already begun their ketamine journey, and we go back, we outfit them with the proper intention retroactively, and things fall into place. And all of a sudden, the things that didn't make sense previously make sense now. So proper preparation is the before for sure, and it's also ongoing. And aside from preparing for your ketamine journey, sort of the macro that I'm talking about, this episode 48, so great. I made that joke a lot in the last recording and I've exhausted a little bit. So you're welcome. You're going to hear 48 is great less in this episode, although I think I'm up to 3 now. And, the micro of the preparation is the hours before ketamine, right? And that's what we're talking about in this episode is the hours leading up to your ketamine journey and how to make the most of it. And I've talked about this in other episodes. I want to point you towards 3 other episodes that I've recorded that talk about, preparing for ketamine. Episode 3, the one thing you should not do before ketamine. Episode 31, when should I start preparing for my ketamine journey and why it matters more than you think. And episode 42, the 3 things most people miss when preparing for ketamine and how to do it right. So we have a lot out there on preparation, again, because I really think it's the most important step. And this episode, we're going to get a little more granular and we're going to talk about the hours before ketamine. Now, if the days before ketamine are important, the hours before ketamine are also just as crucial, if not more crucial. I talk a lot about the subconscious mind because the subconscious mind is 95% of your brain. And if you want ketamine to transform your life, you want it to transform your subconscious mind. That just is what it is, because the subconscious mind is formed before the age of 7. And so everything that happens after that, we are either confirming or opposing, right? It's like two sides of the same coin. You're either going with the programming or you're going against the programming. And what ketamine does, what psychedelics do, again, with proper support, proper guidance, proper subconscious reprogramming tools, is they actually help you get up and out of that box and into a whole new reality. And that is just really mind blowing. There's a lot of different ways of looking at this. And the thing that I'll say is there's no objective view of reality. And you'll notice too, with proper subconscious reprogramming, that you can shift your understanding of reality, that the world around you begins to change, and that you can really have so much more control over your life than you previously thought was possible. Now, the counter to that is that if you don't take the time to get to know your subconscious mind, or you leave thoughts and programming and things unchecked, then you risk, perpetuating the pattern. You risk kind of making the same decisions over and over. Carl Jung, one of my favorite quotes that I live and work by: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So you're not fated to whatever reality you've been living in. You're not fated to whatever diagnosis, that has been handed to you or stamped on your file. You are not fated to make the same decisions over and over. However, if you want to get out of that loop, if you want to get out of that pattern, that golden ticket lives in your subconscious mind. And sure, ketamine can help you get out of that for sure, with proper preparation and integration. 100%. I've been seeing transformations happen for the past 4 years that are incredible, that are that define logic and define science, and really are just seeing people, including myself, change lives and get into a whole different reality. It is absolutely possible. And if you are not doing it from a subconscious perspective, it's unlikely. So the hours before ketamine are when your subconscious mind is a little bit more attuned to what is happening around you. And that is important because it's taking all of that in, and it is, again, it is referencing it against that programming. Do I believe this or do I not believe this? And sometimes, the things that you experience before ketamine could show up in your journeys. I've talked about this in other episodes where, there's movies that I've watched or media that I've consumed that has shown up for me in psychedelic ceremonies. Why? Because my subconscious mind is flagging it as, oh, that's interesting, that's important, that's valuable. And then it's bringing it back up. Now, I am really fortunate and grateful. I'm so grateful that I've been studying the subconscious mind for about 10 years. And there is no media that I consume that I do not want to reprogram my subconscious mind. In fact, all the media I consume is with that intention of something interesting, something novel, something unique that is going to imprint different ideas into my subconscious mind. I know the language of the subconscious mind. I know how to speak directly to it, and I know how to make the best use out of any media that I consume. Now, if you are not as knowledgeable about the subconscious mind, you're going to want to limit your media consumption, social media, news, even just conversations with people. I mean, gosh, how many text messages do we receive in a day? I get over 100, and I feel like I'm on the low end. I just feel like I get less text messages than usual. I have almost every group chat on my phone muted, and I still feel like it's too much. So you want to really be aware of that and limit your input before. And that is going to be the first tip that I give. So let me think about this. How did I record this last time? I gave 3 things to avoid and 3 things to do. Okay, so the three things to avoid is unnecessary. I mean, what is unnecessary? It's all unnecessary. Avoid scrolling, avoid reading the news, avoid talking to a million people or even five people. Really limit your input so that when you get into your ketamine journey, your subconscious mind is processing things that are already there instead of processing the new stuff that may or may not be as pertinent, as important to your healing journey. So that is step number one. Or rather, that is the thing to avoid, number one. The thing to avoid, number two, is way 3D, and that is consuming, right? Consuming food, right? Avoid large meals. You want to stop eating anywhere from 3 to 8 hours before ketamine. I know people that fast the day of their ketamine journey because otherwise, the interaction of ketamine and any food in their system is very nauseating. It is common to get nauseous on ketamine. So you want to avoid big meals. You want to avoid anything that your body needs a lot to process. Ketamine is a dissociative, right? It is designed to take you up and out of your body for an experience. Now, if your belly and your system is filled with a lot of heavy foods, with a lot of just things that are still processing from consuming them, you're going to be limited for how far out you can go. So avoid heavy meals, avoid drinking too much, whether it's water or any liquid, because you want to be hydrated. So you definitely want to, stay hydrated and consume water, but you don't want to consume so much that you're going to have to use the bathroom in the middle of your session. So that is number two thing to avoid. And number three thing to avoid is emotional chaos. What is emotional chaos? A few things. One, people. Whoever you thought of when I said emotional chaos, leave that conversation for another day. Emotional chaos could be just situations or people or anything that gets you sort of riled up. Okay. You want to avoid that so that you're not making your whole ketamine journey about that. The other thing that I'll say about emotional chaos is big life decisions, right? This is the hours before ketamine that we're talking about. So we're talking about really any session. It could be your first session, it could be your fifth session, it could be any session. And a lot of times it is really common for people going through ketamine to have really big life epiphanies. I need to make this career change. I need to make this relationship change. I need to make this life change. And great, right? That's what you want to happen. You want to have life epiphanies. You want to come out of the experience feeling inspired, feeling like you want to change something in your life, because that is how we get into integrating the psychedelics, the ketamine into your life experience. And those big life decisions, I recommend holding off on them for anywhere from 2 to 12 weeks. If there is a big decision that you need to make, it'll still be there in 6 weeks. It'll still be there in 8 weeks. And in fact, when I came out of my first psychedelic journey and I knew that I was going to make a big change, I knew that I was going to leave my 10-year career, my very, very lucrative and successful job and life as I knew it, I took about 4 months before I actually stepped into that, because I knew that there was a part of me that was so scared that that was the biggest mistake I was going to make in my life. There was no safety, security on the other side of that. I now see that there was no safety or security in that either. But at the time, that was my source of safety. And so I took a lot of time to really distance myself from that decision and really took that deep dive journey inward to make sure that I was sure. And at the end of the 4 months, I was still sure. So I did step into that brave move. Okay. So if those are the three things to avoid, inputting any media, social media, news, people, etc., heavy foods, too much liquid, and then also any big life changes or any emotional chaos. What are the three things that you could be doing before your ketamine journey? in those hours leading up to it. The first thing that I will suggest is to take time in those hours leading up to your ketamine journey. I know not everyone has the luxury of time. I know that there are people that are going straight from work into your ketamine journey. I don't recommend that, truly. I think we've all had the experience where maybe you come home from a busy day of work, or maybe you come home from, a big celebratory dinner, and your body still feels like it's moving and buzzing, and it takes time to calm down. I actually just had this happen last week. I met up with a friend after work, and I asked for us to go for a walk in nature before we did anything else, because I felt like my body was trying to run somewhere, because I had been running all day, and I needed to kind of take a moment to get back in my body, to get into the moment, and to release that feeling like I was trying to get somewhere. And that is exactly the feeling you don't want to bring to ketamine. You don't want to bring your to-do list, your, oh crap, I forgot to send that email list, like the things that are from work. You don't want to bring them into your ketamine journey. And that could be, work. It could be any responsibilities that you have. It could even be running errands, right? The slower you take those hours leading up to ketamine, the more you're already starting to process, right? One of the things that I say with the ketamine preparation protocol is that there is medicine before the medicine, right? The ketamine is medicine. The hours after are medicine. Integration is medicine, and taking it slow and really giving yourself the time and the luxury of easing into your ketamine journey is also medicine. Now, if you don't have that luxury of time, I want to give you a few tips. One, what can you delegate? Okay. Is there something that you can hand off to someone else so that it gets done, but maybe not by you? Two, how can you set the expectation with whoever is expecting someone from you, whether, again, it's at work or anywhere in your life? How can you set the expectation of like, hey, I'm actually going to really minimize my output that day? And three, how can you prepare, right? You're not spontaneously doing ketamine on Wednesday, right? It's something that you've prepared for. How can you get more done? Maybe you work a little bit extra those days before so that you're extra set up. And the fourth little bonus that I'll give is, okay, maybe you can't not work that day. I totally respect that. Can you at least give yourself time? Right? How much time can you give yourself between ending work and going into your ketamine journey? And how can you maximize that time? And I'll talk about that next, because those are the other two things that I recommend doing in those hours before ketamine. So the second thing that I recommend is to move your body in a light way. This is not the time to start a new exercise regimen. This is not a time to like do something new and outrageous physically. But it could be a time to go for like a 10 or 15-minute walk. Maybe in nature. You'll get a lot more for your time if your walk is in nature than if it's anywhere else. Or maybe if you are into yoga, doing some gentle yoga. I've been teaching nervous system reset yoga for many years. And there's actually on the YouTube channel, again, go follow us on YouTube, Ketamine Connections everywhere where we exist. There's a nervous system reset yoga class. It's light, it's accessible, it's good for anybody. Go check that out if it resonates, and get into your body and exert your body, even if it's a little bit. If you're already in the mode of having an exercise regimen, you can go a little bit harder for sure. And again, the point of ketamine is to take you up and out of your body. And we know that when you've gotten your wiggles out, we know that when you've exerted yourself, then your body can relax more. Also, there's just so many feel good, hormones that come out of exercise that are absolutely what you want in your system leading up to ketamine in those precious hours before ketamine. So number two, I recommend moving your body in some way. And the third thing that I recommend is an introspective practice. So something that guides you inward. It could be meditation, it could be journaling, or it could be hypnosis. Hypnosis is my favorite introspective practice. I've been practicing hypnosis for almost a decade, and practicing hypnotherapist for the past, I guess, 8 years. And I love hypnosis because it's getting into the same part of your brain as ketamine. It is lowering your defenses, and it's getting you into the default mode network, which is exactly what you want to get into, again, if you want ketamine to transform your life. I have a free hypnosis library. I'll link it down below. So many of you are already in there, and I get emails every single week telling me how much you guys are getting out of it. So please, please try it out. The thing about hypnosis is that, I know how to speak directly to your subconscious mind, and I'm doing it in a way where I'm not implanting any suggestions. I'm not using any assumptions, and I'm really doing it in a way that speaks directly to your subconscious mind. Now, if you go on any sort of YouTube or, any guided meditation, I love guided meditations. I've been doing them for over a decade. Before I even found hypnosis, I was already meditating, and it still boggles my mind how many recordings out there are not subconsciously sound. Again, I know the language of the subconscious mind. I know how it's formed. I know how it operates, and I'm able to filter that as it's happening. So I'm not being programmed in a way that I don't want to be. If that science, if that information of what is the subconscious mind, how is it formed, and how does it operate, and the language that it speaks, if that's interesting to you, I dive deeper into all of that in the ketamine preparation protocol. So hop in there so that you can get the support and the answers that you want. Because, guys, 95% of your brain, you want to know where it lives, how it works, and the language that it speaks. Trust me, your life will flow so much smoother when you know. But yeah, just get into the free library. So if nothing else, you can listen to some of the recordings that are in there, so you can get information of like, okay, this is what it sounds like when someone is speaking in a gentle way directly to my subconscious mind. Or, okay, this is how I experience when something is working with my subconscious as opposed to against it. And then if you still feel inspired to go out and find other, meditation or other recordings, then you at least know what it is that you're looking for. Also, by the way, I do a free guided hypnosis live on Zoom every month. It's called Mental Hygiene Moments. I've been doing it since 2020. It is one of my favorite offerings. It's one of your favorite offerings. So many of you hop in there. It's 30 minutes on a Monday, once a month. Check out the show notes so you know the next date that is coming up. Okay, so introspective practice, hypnosis, meditation, journaling. There's many different kinds of ways to journal. You could just do a free form journaling. That works really well. I love a good brain dump, just kind of free form, letting things flow out. I'm an analog journaler. I've been journaling since age 9. So I put pen to paper, and that's how I get things out. I'm hearing more teachers say that it's okay to kind of type your thoughts out. And also, I do know that writing and a somatic practice, like having a pen or pencil, whatever, in your hand and writing things out, it gets into a different part of the brain. If you're not sure about journaling, or if you need some help or guidance, again, that's something that we cover in the ketamine preparation protocol. There's over 100 journal prompts in there to really help you get going. And again, if you have any other questions about anything in this show, those answers are very likely hanging out in the ketamine preparation protocol. I'm hanging out there, and I would love to see you there. So hop in and let's get in there together. Okay, so those are the 3 things that I advise really spending your time with in the hours leading up to ketamine. Moving your body, creating space in your day so that you have an intentional, spacious lead up into your journey, and an introspective practice. There is one other thing that I'll mention briefly that I do recommend. in the 1 hour leading up to your ketamine journey, and that is sitting with your intention. Now, I'm a little cautious to say that because most people don't know how to set a proper intention for your ketamine journey. Most people don't know the difference between an intention and a goal. Most people don't know the language of your subconscious mind. Most people don't know how to set an intention that is going to guide you into change, that's going to safely and gently guide you into the transformation that you want. So, unless you have proper guidance, right? Unless you have someone that knows the subconscious mind, knows how to work with psychedelics, that has helped you set that intention, then I'll just kind of leave that aside. But when you have the proper intention, I do recommend spending the 30 to 60 minutes before you go into ketamine, really, really sitting with that intention, like repeating it in your mind, maybe even envisioning what is life like when that intention has come to fruition, and getting it already in there, because ketamine breaks habits and it breaks patterns, which is exactly what you want to do in order to transform your subconscious mind, your life experience, your view of the world. And so when you're going into ketamine, the ears sort of peaked up going, wait, something's different about today. Today's different than any other day. And you want to make use of that time. So yeah, that is all that I have for you today. I hope that this episode was helpful. It's my second time recording it, so that's how passionate I am to get this information to you. I can't believe we're on episode 48, y'all. Like, we're creeping up to 52, and I don't know what I think is going to happen when we get to 52, but I feel this energy building. 52, there's 52 weeks in a year. We have now gone 48 weeks with weekly episodes. So when we hit 52, that means that we have gone a whole year of weekly episodes. And I guess we're going to have a party. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I'm so excited to continue learning and growing with you. I started mentioning this on the last episode, and especially if you've already made it to this point of the episode at the end, obviously you care about this information. Obviously you're getting value from this. Go to any of the links in the show notes and get on my email list. That is where you have more information from me that I don't share anywhere else. That is where you are first to know when I'm hosting something, wherever it is that I'm hosting it, so you can hang out with me. And that is also the way that we stay connected, because I've mentioned this before. We got kicked off of Instagram last year. We said adios to that party. And, there's no warning. There's a lot of censorship. There's increasingly more censorship. So let's connect, on my email list so that you can stay connected to this information. And so that we can also celebrate a full year of weekly episodes. That is all that I have for you today. I hope to hang out with you more. So come find me, on Mental Hygiene Moments happening later this month, that free 30-minute hypnosis. Come hang out with me in the ketamine preparation protocol or the live calls that we have there, or shoot me an email and let's connect there. I would love to stay in touch. My name is Anna Kristal. I want you to stay curious. That is my biggest hope for you. And I want to see you next time on Ketamine Connections. Bye! Thank you so much for tuning into Ketamine Connections with me today. If this episode supported you, the best way to say thank you is by sharing it or leaving a review. And if you're enjoying the show and you want to connect more, I would love to see you on my newsletter. That is where I share behind-the-scenes insights, thoughtful guidance, and other parts of your ketamine journey. Never spam, always fun, and honestly, since getting kicked off of social media in 2024, it's where I share the real stuff. I share stories, tools, updates that I don't post anywhere else. So sign up at any of the links in the show notes and you'll be the first to know when I'm hosting live Q&A or when I'm doing other fun things that are not available anywhere else. It's the best place to hear about it, stay connected, and grow together. All right, that is all I have for today. Thank you. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time.